Over the past several months, the House Ways and Means Committee has been traveling around the country and holding roundtables in Washington to get ahead of the 2025 Trump tax cut expirations. Joining us now on what they're working on, Congressman Jason Smith is the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. It's good to see you, Mr. Chairman. A new wild card thrown into it is President Trump's possible embrace of getting rid of the SALT cap, which also would add to the deficit, would it not?
It's definitely not a wild card. We've set up these 10 tax teams, like you were referring to last April, to travel the country, to listen to stakeholders, to do site visits. We've been to 19 different states, over 100 different visits, to look at the entire tax code, not just the expiring provisions of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, but everything, to see what kind of tax package works for 2025. And that includes SALT, which, as you know, SALT is expiring at the end of 2025, where there will no longer be a $10,000 cap. So it's going to be front and center in all the discussions. So it makes sense that he's talking about it.
Some of the appealing parts across the board almost to people about 2017 was that it did simplify taxes in terms of, deductions, et cetera, putting a cap on those. What does it look like, and can we even project what it looks like when we have no idea about the makeup of the White House or Congress next year?
In 37 days, we'll have a better understanding of all the players on the field to see what direction do you go with the expiring tax provisions. We did simplify the code back in 2017. One of the biggest impacts of simplifying the code was increasing the guaranteed deduction. 91% of all Americans use the guaranteed deduction when they file their taxes. Only 9% of all Americans actually itemize, which use all the deductions. Unfortunately, that provision gets cut in half.
What you hear when you, on one side, characterizes what happened with the tax cuts is that I think they conflate corporations with the wealthy. They say it was a tax cut for the wealthy. At the same time, if you think we're in a great economy right now, and I see that said a lot by, that Bidenomics is working, this is 3% GDP, unemployment's very low. I don't see any credit given to the 2017 cut in corporate taxes, down to 21%. And I think that, I don't know, is it a good economy because of the Inflation Reduction Act? Is it because of what pro-growth policies did Biden pass to account for the economy?
Let's just say right after passage of the Trump tax cuts in 2017, we saw the greatest economy in my lifetime. Real wages increased by $5,000, which is more than the combination of the 8 prior years in the Obama administration. We saw record low unemployment, the lowest poverty in recorded history. Inflation was normal. These were things that really helped real Americans. Every American, Joe, will face a tax increase if we do nothing in 2025. So that tells me that it wasn't just the wealthy. It was the poor that also received a cut in taxes.
But how would you pay for extending the tax cuts and getting rid of the SALT cap?
We're going to have to look at everything. I think whenever you're looking
That's a big number, though. Is it not? What would the number be if you got rid of the SALT cap and you extended the tax cuts? It's trillions of dollars, isn't it, over 10 years?
It's about $900 billion over 10 years is the SALT cap elimination. You're looking at $4.6 trillion worth of unpaid for tax expirations that we have to address. So we have to look at everything. Everything is on the table.
You think tariffs can pay for that? Are you?
I think we're going to have to look at absolutely everything. There's not one thing that can pay for $4.6 trillion.
Like what, though? Do Republicans aren't willing to raise taxes anywhere?
Well, I think there's hundreds of billions of dollars out there that the administration has tried to use for student loans. I also believe if you codify various aspects of the 301 tariffs, that can raise a lot of money in the hundreds of billions of dollars. There's multiple things to look at. I also believe there's some deductions that we should be getting rid of that are out there that are not necessary. We need a flatter, fairer rate.
Okay, so what kind of deductions do we get rid of?
Well, for one, SALT is going to be in the middle of the road. The president's called for us to address SALT. There'll be a cap on SALT. It's not going to be unlimited. There will be a cap on salt because there is no way in a Republican House of Representatives that you can pass an unlimited salt deduction.
So what kind of number do you think that'll be?
A higher cap or a lower cap than where it is now?
I would say definitely a higher cap. There's going to have to be some wiggle room. If you look at the salt cap that was passed in 2017, it had a marriage penalty. Republicans are supposed to be the party of families. There should not be a marriage penalty. And there's other provisions that you can look at. Inflation's gone up over 20% just in the last 3 years. How much has it gone up since 2017? A lot of things need to be addressed when looking at the salt deduction.
When you look at the individual tax rate on the highest end, what do you think it turns into?
Of the individual tax rate?
Yep.
Well, every individual rate will go up. If we do nothing, it'll be 43.4%. Will be the highest end. My goal is to make sure that we extend what the 2017 tax cuts did with the individual rate. But we got a lot of work to do, and it also depends on what happens in the next 36 days.
If you make the corporate tax rate,
corporate tax
make
rate,
the corporate tax rate 15%, which is what former President Trump wants if he becomes the president. What does that do in your mind overall to revenue?
So what he's
been and I'm curious, just recognizing that the BRT, if you remember back in the day, 2017, 16, was willing to or wanted what they thought was 25%.
So I'll just say, I believe joint tax. I know joint tax was completely off when they scored the 2017 Trump tax cuts. In fact, they were off by $900 billion, almost $1 trillion in just revenues 2 years ago. That's a big number to be off. So we see that those Trump tax cuts definitely were pro-growth and created a great fuel to the economy. The 15% tax rate that President Trump has suggested is for companies who do their manufacturing in the United States. It's not across the board 15%.
You don't see that as industrial policy? That sounds like a Democrat initiative to me.
It's an incentive to make sure that we support American-made, American manufactured goods. That's why I think you see a lot of his trade policy as well.
There's certain things that should be done other places. Maybe not everything, and I wish everything was made here, but, the whole comparative.
Yeah, like what do you think about Deere tractors? What do you tell the farmers who are going to have to pay more for the Deere tractors? There's more people who have to buy the tractors than are going to make the tractors, right?
So, as someone who owns a John Deere tractor on my farm, in my
nothing runs like a Deere.
Nothing runs like a Deere. They've made it clear that they're going to continue to manufacture in the United States, which I hope they do. Because when you look at our exports throughout the world, it's farm machinery, it's aircraft. That's what most of our products that are going. We have a little bit of agriculture. Unfortunately, we're at a $32 billion trade deficit on agriculture, which is the worst it's been in over a half a century.
So you think just strategically we'd be better off focusing on agriculture manufacturing devices like a tractor than actually the agriculture itself?
I think there's
as a business. Would you
I think
say
it's more machinery than a device?
Excuse me? Right.
Andrew, there's three things that we have to make sure our country is very focused on. When it comes to our food supply, so that would be agriculture manufacturing. When it comes to our healthcare supply, pharmaceuticals, drugs, healthcare supplies. And when it comes to energy, if our country is not independent with food, healthcare, and energy, that means we're relying on another country. It needs to be our friends.
Jason, are you a free trader, though? Are you a free trader? Or when they asked McConnell that, about tariffs, he goes, he punted and said, I'm a free trader. You a free trader or a tariff guy?
I'm a free trader, but I believe in fair trade. For example, the country of Thailand imposes a 50% tariff on U.S. beef, but a 0% on Australian beef. That's not fair. Okay. That's not right. So reciprocal
so it sounds
trade,
targeted, though, like not across the board, which Trump has talked about.
Tariffs are a tool to make sure that American manufacturers, American farmers are treated fairly in all businesses. And as long as everyone is free, then it'll be fair. But not all countries are being fair.
Chairman Smith, thanks. You like coming into it's 25 years old, the NASDAQ. It's a big party, anniversary.
Pretty neat. It's a lot different than
a lot
Missouri.
of lights. So. Yeah, a lot different. Well, but you get to show people everything in Show Me State.
The Show Me State.
You do. Good. Thank you.
You're showing me today.
Try not to show you up. All right. Squawk Box, we'll be right back.